All right, folks, we are back. I think. Yeah. So as we get started, I'm going to give just a couple minutes so that people can get here and get in, any stragglers, and then we'll get to actually unboxing the chip and stuff. So give it a few minutes as we get set up and get like a client acclimated, and we'll begin in about 12:10, I think. So sit tight. Hey folks, welcome again to the stream. As we get started, I'm going to give us just a couple more minutes so that any stragglers can make their way in before I actually crack the seal on the chip. So sit tight. We'll begin at about 12:10 or so, depending on how many viewers we get. So I'll talk to you in a second. Okay, folks, just a couple more minutes. Like I said, we'll try and get started at 12:15, so any stragglers can join in. So just a couple more minutes. Hey folks, thank you again for your patience. Again, we'll get started at 12:15. If you're just joining, it'll be just about a minute longer. And then I'll explain why we're here, what we're doing, and hopefully get started. So sit tight. Thanks again. We'll be right on. Okay, hey folks. If you're just joining us, I'm Jeff from the Tech Report. I'm the editor-in-chief and the CPU benchmarker, graphics card benchmarker at the Tech Report. And today we're going to be looking at the Core i7-87, or sorry, they're so close. The Core i7-8086K limited edition CPU that Intel announced this week at Computex. The 8086K is Intel's first mainstream chip with a 5 gigahertz single core turbo speed, and it's up 300 megahertz across the board as well, or something like that. So what I'm primarily interested in doing today is like seeing where the turbo tables fall out. I want to see if the power consumption of the chip has changed on the way to that higher clock speed, and maybe we'll even overclock it and see if there's any extra headroom in what is presumably like a higher bend processor. So yeah, we'll spend as much time as we can or want on those things. But right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and start actually opening the chip up so we can use it. So, okay. So obviously, if you've seen any other Intel CPU box, this is pretty similar, other than the limited edition badging. I mean, it's a CPU, so if you've seen an LGA 1151 CPU, you've kind of seen them all. So we'll get into this and see if there's anything special inside the box. Oh boy, I'm violating my Boy Scout knife safety rules here. Whoa, okay. Oh man, certificate of authenticity. Something with a QR code on it. Yeah, this is the letter from Brian Kurzanich, I guess, thanking us for plunking down our hard-earned money for buying this CPU. Yeah. I'm a verified owner, as if holding the product was not verification enough that we have an 8086K. With the usual manual, the sticker is nothing special. Yeah, you wouldn't know, I guess, from the outside that you're holding on to any sort of special, or outside of your PC that you're holding on to any sort of special processor. So yeah, there you go. That's the chip. As you can see, there's a 4 gigahertz base clock indication on this thing. It's an 8086K. Yeah. So that's the packaging, such as it is. There's no heatsink in the box since this is a K CPU. So before we actually get started on installing anything, I just want to go over our test setup here, because we have our entire test bench set up for this. So for the Intel side, we have the Gigabyte Z370 Aorus Gaming 7, which is their top-end Z370 board. It's got an awesome power delivery subsystem. It should be great for extracting whatever overclocking headroom we have. We have a Corsair H110i, 280 millimeter CPU cooler. Again, we'll make the best we can of Intel's TIM. I could put a 360 millimeter radiator on this thing. The 8086K is not soldered, so we'll run into thermal limits most likely, but we'll see what we can do within that envelope. So on the AMD side of the bench, we have the Gigabyte X470 Aorus Gaming 7 as well. This is the top-end X470 board so far from Gigabyte. You can see the awesome thinned VRM heatsink in there. We have DDR4 3400 RAM in this system with CL16 timings. I have an EK Waterblocks Predator 240 millimeter 240 millimeter radiator on this thing, but it's super extra thick. So this is an ideal system for extracting like the most out of our Ryzen 7 2700X as well. And I have GTX 1080 Ti Founders Editions on both systems. It's unlikely we'll get to gaming benchmarks. I'm primarily hoping to run stuff that's easy to do unattended and watch the chat, because if I start gaming, it's all manual and I can't monitor the chat and stuff. So yeah, so I'm going to shut down our Intel test platform, and we'll go ahead and disassemble it and get the 8086K in there and get started. And for those just joining, we already went into the box. This is the box, that's the chip. There you go. So I'm going to set this back on the tripod real quick and get it into position so we can like actually see what we're doing. Okay, wonderful. So we'll go ahead and shut this down. And I want this to be, you know, if anybody like has a specific benchmark that they want to see run, like so long as it doesn't take like 2 hours, like give me a shout in the chat and we'll see what we can do. Like I'll be testing our usual range of productivity stuff, which, you know, encompasses single-threaded, multi-threaded performance. But again, I'm open to suggestions. So, where's my screwdriver? So I just finished benchmarking the i7-8700K with the Spring Creators update or Windows 10 1803 or whatever. So we have the most up-to-date numbers possible for like comparison purposes from that chip. And I didn't finish the 2700X, but, you know, I'll have plenty of time to swap back and forth between systems as we go. Get our 8700K out of there. See what that looks like. Yeah. Bring this in a little closer. Oh, 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 oh. All right, it's the last time this purported collector's item will ever be in its virginal state. We're about to cover it in thermal paste and ruin its collector's value for all time. So one last good look. Yep, it's a chip. So, okay. So we have just ruined any collector's value this had. Thermal paste. Yep. It's my chip. I can do what I want with it. This is not a review sample, so. Find my isopropyl alcohol here real quick. Well, I don't exactly know what happened to my isopropyl. 1 second. Well, crap. Sorry, guys. Whatever, we'll just do this the nasty way. Paper towel takes off most of it. Good enough. All right. Now the interesting question here is whether this is going to fire up from the get-go, because I know MSI issued like firmware updates for their 300 series boards for this CPU. Thankfully, I do have an MSI board here if this does not work. So let's find out. Oh, well, okay. All right, now. And it's a positive sign. We get a post screen. Anything. This I don't like. We'll try clearing the CMOS, and if that doesn't do it, we may have to pull out our MSI motherboard and get like the compatible firmware on it. Oh, I don't have the DisplayPort cable. God, I'm such an idiot. The week after Computex is not a good time for high cognitive load. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So I'm going to restart the machine. Okay, now we can get to the good stuff. Yep, BIOS has been reset for sure, for sure. Oh boy. Get that glare off it. Yeah, that's from this is from my other light. Okay. That made it worse. Okay, well, fine. Okay, so now what I want to see is like what our turbo table looks like as the processor tells it. Because some people were saying this was a some people said that this was a 300 megahertz clock speed boost across the board, but that does not appear to be the case. At least in the case of this Gigabyte motherboard and this Gigabyte firmware, you can see that the top turbo bin is of course 5 gigahertz, but the all core turbo ratio at 43 is the same as the i7-8700K. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. It's a little disappointing. I guess I was hoping that it would be like 46 at the top turbo bin. So yeah, that alone is kind of bleh. Because that we're not actually seeing like an all-core performance advantage over the 8700K. Okay, so let's see what else this tells us. Power limits have not changed. It's 95 watts. It's still a 95 watt TDP. So it seems like we're not looking at like some major change to the turbo ratios to get this thing into 95 watts, or like some exceptional piece of silicon to get this to 95 watts. Like the yeah, I'm a little, yeah, I'm disappointed honestly at that all core turbo ratio. Okay, well, so now we know. I'm gonna take some notes real quick. Before we get out of here. It's the all core turbo ratio is still 4.3 gigahertz. The 43 right here, that's the same as the i7-8700K. So that has not changed in the 8086K. So this is not like an across the board boost. I don't have the i7-8700K's turbo table handy to know like what the top bins look like on that part, but it seems like Intel has just pushed the top bins on this chip to hit that 5 gigahertz figure and not just like pushed up clocks across the board. Yeah, it's the same. The all-core turbo ratio is the same. Oh boy, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's definitely not worth a $75 upcharge. Um, Woo boy. Okay, so at least that's yeah. Okay, so that's what we know there. Oh, actually, I can't. So I'm just gonna configure our memory profile. That's not in here, so that we're using the same memory settings as the Ryzen. That's not what we want. Advanced manual, please. 16. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. So yeah, you're not going to see that 5 gigahertz figure often. It's definitely a bursty. It's definitely bursty. But yeah, that sucks. Honestly, that sucks. I'm really displeased. Nope, we have not delitted it. I just put it in the system. So we might. I don't have the delitting equipment here. We might do that later on, but for now, I just wanted to get an idea of the stock clock performance and like any overclocking we can do within the envelope of the stock TIM and stuff. Yep, need my network adapter here. Pull back a little bit. I'll put this away. Yeah, I mean, we can dive. So let's see if CPU-Z recognizes it. I don't need the update. We might need the update. 1 second. Yeah, I mean, it had better overclock really well to justify the price tag. Like a $75 US upcharge is a lot for just like a push on that top turbo bin. We already installed it. I don't know what I'm doing. Ah, there we go. See, why couldn't they have made that? So see, like that's a cool little logo. Like, why didn't they make that the sticker for the you know, the box or something? I don't know. I mean, give us something here. So the most likely candidate to push this. Let me see if I can find my Gorilla Pod real quick so we can get this camera closer to the screen. There it is. Okay, just a moment. I'm gonna get this tripod mount on another tripod real quick. Come back. Okay, so this way we can maybe see a little better like what's going on the screen. So the benchmark I'm about to use here is Jetstream. Jetstream is a JavaScript benchmark with a lot of little bursty micro benchmarks in it. And that's like ideal for trying to get the like single core to show up. And you can see it is boosting up to 5 in some of these on the so we're getting so I guess this may actually not be that informative. Cinebench might be a better test. Yeah, there we saw 4998 megahertz for just like a fraction of a second. So we'll see what the score is for this. Oh boy, something running in the background because it shouldn't be worse than an 8700K. Let's restart this. I mean, it may still well be better. Like, just not the way they got to 5 gigahertz is a little different, perhaps, than like what I was expecting. It's just that, so like in very lightweight bursty workloads like this, you will see 5 gigahertz. It's just like there's not a corresponding all-core boost. Like, they didn't yank up the whole turbo table, so. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so a final score of 280 compared to 277 for the i7-8700K. Yeah, it's it's not really proven itself. I mean, it doesn't. We could pull out this MSI board I have and see if it made any difference, but like that's a lot of effort. But we might be able to try and see if it's a firmware thing. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I shouldn't think it requires some like major. Yeah, or just wait until Gigabyte actually puts one out. Okay, so 281.05 for Jetstream versus 277.83 for the 8700K. Yeah, that's what your $75 buys you. Of course, that's just one benchmark. Like, we can try Octane, see if there's any difference with Octane. I mean, I guess what it really buys you is a CPU that you really want to keep in the box because its collector's value probably outweighs its practical value. But I've sacrificed mine for the good of everybody else. So I'm gonna record this real quick. I need to print off a new benchmark sheet. Just 1 second. Okay, got it. I forget what Jetstream was, but it doesn't matter. 4525 for Octane. We'll run this again real quick. I don't think Octane is actually going to be the least bit different because the range of the values I got for the 8700K were practically the same. So yeah, if the turbo bins are like this, there's probably not a whole lot of point in testing like any sort of multi-threaded benchmarks, because it's going to be exactly the same as an 8700K. Yeah, we'll get. Yeah, that was just my thought. Like, it's not worth like running through all of these stock clocked benchmarks, because most of ours outside of these web browsing tests are just multi-threaded, and we're not going to see any change in performance from a 8086K to 8700K, because they have the same all-core turbo frequency. They have a 43 multiplier for all-core turbo. Yeah, I think we should probably just skip the rest, because we can already say like that, at least with this motherboard and at least with this firmware. I'm not going to rule out the possibility that the firmware is to blame here, but it seems unlikely. So yeah, let's just overclock it. Okay, I'm gonna move my camera again real quick. I mean, yeah, yes and no, because like we already got the 8700K to 5 gigahertz on all cores. Like that's not like a hard thing to do for an 8700K, like for non-AVX workloads. Like that if you don't have like an extremely crappy chip, like that should be possible. The real question is like, can we push up the AVX offset? Because like with our engineering sample 8700K, yeah, I had to dial in like a -2 AVX to get it stable at like a reasonable voltage. Oh, come on here. Maybe I'm putting it in the wrong way. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. No, we have not delitted it yet, because I don't have the equipment, and I'm gonna collect like actual review data from this chip, so I want it to be like 100% stock under the heat spreader. But once we do that, like once we get all the numbers we need from it, you know, I might delit it. So, okay, so I don't know, how do we want to go about this? Let's just go for broke here. So I'm just gonna do the overclock that I know our engineering sample was capable of. So we'll go with a 5 gigahertz all-core multiplier, and a -2 AVX offset, and go through Gigabyte's weird firmware interface here and give it like, we'll see if that gets us anywhere. Well, it booted. It's gonna make a lot of noise. Sorry, these fans are crazy loud. Get this up so that people can know what we're doing. Yeah, I might need hardware info. Let's see if I have it installed. I do not. So we'll go get hardware info. I only care about our sensors. Okay, so see what our V core is. Under load, I guess. So Blender is my preferred stress test for this kind of thing. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, stop, 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 stop. Let's not pump 1.5 volts through this processor. That's ridiculous. Okay, so I'm just going to use manual voltage, fixed voltage, because we just want to get, we don't really care about getting it 24/7, we just care about getting it usable without pumping like chip breaking amounts of voltage through it, so. Yeah, I stopped because it was putting, like, the motherboard was running 1.5 volts V-core, which is insane. This may not be much better. Okay, well, yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, great. So with our AVX offset, with a -2 AVX offset, it's drawing 1.221 volts. That's quite a lot of V-droop. But it's not like it's not getting super hot. Like we're only at 65 degrees C max. The package is 66 degrees Celsius. So we have plenty of headroom to try for more. Like thermally, I'm usually worried about thermal headroom with 8700Ks. So yeah, okay. So at least it hits the baseline. So we'll go ahead and dial out. We'll dial out that AVX offset. Okay, so now we're running with a 0 AVX offset. So in theory, we should be able to. Well, we'll just see. I mean, we'll just see if it's stable, because our other one, our 8700K, was not stable without an AVX offset. Go away, Discord. Actually, we'll just get rid of that. Okay, well, let's see if we can do it. So that's 5 gigahertz, all cores with AVX. So, and we're not even cracking 70 degrees Celsius, which is amazing. Like, if you've tried overclocking any modern K-series CPU, like I think our 8700K was a lot worse. So we have, I don't know like what they did, but like there's tons of thermal headroom left in this chip. So that's interesting. Uh-oh. Well, we had a hiccup there, but I mean, it's no, like I have like if you look at the let's see if what the chip's telling us. Like the VID, well, see, I don't know. Like the VIDs are like at 1.38 volts, but V core is 1.21 right now. Yep. RIP. Well, we can try we can try some load line calibration with this, or come on. Okay, she's dead, Jim. No. So we can try and give it a little more somehow. See if that stabilizes it. Yikes, what happened to our memory here? I may have never set the multiplier. That's fine. Okay, so CPU core, voltage control. Where's our load line? Okay, there's our load line calibration. Start it at high. Yeah, I mean, like, if you're not gonna overclock it, just from what I've seen so far, the $75 up charge is absolutely not worth it. And we might not even get a better overclock ultimately. Discord, I told you to go away. Okay, so that's looking better already, I guess. So yeah, I mean, if it gets through if it gets through the BMW 27 scene here, we might start pushing up the all-core multiplier even more, because like I'm comfortable going all the way to, I mean, like 1.35 volts is like the common knowledge max safe voltage for the chip, and we're nowhere near like the thermal limits of this processor. So now if If we were using Prime 95, that would be a different story. But I don't like testing with Prime, so. But this is already more stable than we were, because we blue screened by about this point the last time through this image. So yeah, at least it overclocks like a little. It seems to be like a lot better position to overclock well for Coffee Lake. I don't know if that's worth not going to Silicon Lottery and just buying a delidded chip already that's known to hit like a certain value. But I mean, at least you're getting something for your money in the overclocking department. Because stock clocked, again, just no. I bought this at retail. Intel did not sample these chips, so. I mean, I don't know, like they didn't, you know, again, our i7-8086K like overclocked worse than this chip did, so. There's not, like, they're not usually sending us golden samples to begin with, in my experience. Okay, so let's crank up the AVX, or let's crank up the multiplier. Okay, so we'll try 5.1 gigahertz and see how that goes. Yeah, it was 1.35 volts set. Actual was like 1.27 with V-droop. So this is 5.1 with the same settings. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, at least in the case of our 8700K, like trying to use it, I don't know if I determined its thermal limits with Prime 95 or Blender, but like it seems a lot better behaved. This chip seems a lot better behaved, like for some reason. Okay, so here we go. So the motherboard. Oops. Okay, well. So the motherboard